Hello again. How you fuel your body is critically important to how you perform in long cycling events. In theory, 30 grams of carbohydrate per hour is the minimum that you're supposed to be trying to eat. But in practice, it can be quite difficult to eat that. So I've asked a few of the athletes that I work with what they prefer to eat during long cycling events, and I'll get onto that later. If you're doing an event, a one-day event where you can carry all your fuel with you, then you can choose what you're going to eat. If you're doing an event that's supported, if you find out what's supplied at the fueling stations, at the aid stations, then you can use that if you can tolerate it and you like it. But don't make the mistake that I made. One of the first races I did in France, I was going through an aid station and I saw something that was tea or something, I think it said, and I thought, well, that sounds like tea, but surely it can't be tea. And it was. I had a drink of it, and it was actually a warm cup of tea, which is not really what I wanted in the 30-degree blazing sunshine that I was running in. I mean, that was a running event, but the principle holds. If you're doing a self-supported event and it's a long event where you're actually going to have to stop and supply yourself with food, then you basically have to eat what's available and preparing yourself by finding out what's available. If it's not in your own country, or if you're travelling through several countries like you might do in the transcontinental race, which is about to start, then finding what types of places can provide what types of food and what food that they supply, and making your best estimate as to what food they supply can save a lot of time. You can stop somewhere like Lidl. Lidl's quite a good place because they're all laid out the same and they've all got similar sorts of food. So if you find out what in Lidl gives you the best calories, the best carbohydrates or foods that you like to eat, then you can always aim to stop at a Lidl because they'll probably come up on your GPS. You can search for them, when you're going to pass one, and you can supply yourself, and that's a good way to go. In other countries, in most countries, petrol stations, gas stations are also a good place to supply yourself with some food. So in theory, you're trying to eat 30 grams of carbohydrate per hour or more. And in practice, if you're doing a long event, you're not really going to eat too much. So you don't need to worry about eating too much. You just have to worry about eating enough. So always have some food available. Always try to be eating regularly, maybe every 30 minutes. So you could set an alarm on your watch. And so you eat something every 30 minutes, drink something every 30 minutes or every 15 minutes, whatever works best for you. Get into a habit. Practice this in training so that you're constantly eating. Always have things that you can easily digest. That's really important. Things that are easy to eat are important because sometimes you don't feel like eating. If it's a really hot day, you might not feel like eating anything. So, things like squeezy cheese can be quite good. Or biscuits. One person I work with always likes to have a packet of biscuits in her back pocket. Think outside the box a bit. Some people like, pork pies. One person that I work with, he says he fueled himself quite effectively on pork pies in one long ride. Sausage rolls, these sort of things. Don't be, there aren't any rules, and you just remember, in practice, you're just trying to eat enough calories to keep yourself going. And here are examples from the people that I contacted. If I have to give just one tip, it would be simply to eat lots, keep eating regularly, eat perhaps every half an hour, even if you're close to your destination. That's an important point, because if you're actually close to where you're going. So that's somebody that I work with actually. He recently did a long event and he missed it. It was a supported event, so he could have eaten at aid stations, but he decided that he wouldn't stop because he was near the finish, and ended up really struggling. It finished up a hill and he probably took half an hour longer than he would have needed to, and that was in I think a 6 or 7 hour event. So that's a huge difference just because of not stopping to eat something. Always have something on the go in your back pocket, a fuel pouch, to make things easy as possible, because you don't always want to eat. In terms of what to eat, things that I found easy to eat on the road and good snacks are Haribo's, chocolate milk, pork pies there, and a packet of biscuits in the back pocket. When it was hot, I had full fat Coke, so basically full sugar Coca-Cola. A lot of people quite like Coca-Cola. Ice cream and crisps if you need something salt, and somebody else said salt and peanuts. And then another athlete, she said she likes dates, nuts. She's a bit more of a health conscious person. Bananas, flapjacks, and then when she needs salt, she sorts of pretzels and snacks. And that, in fact, the previous person said she always tries to eat 2 proper meals a day as well. So she stops to either get a takeaway or stops, in fact, to maybe sit in a cafe and have a meal. And then of course there's cold things, cold tinned foods like rice pudding, beans, baked beans. You can eat straight out of the tin, and that's quite a quick meal, particularly if it's hot. Like if you're racing this time of year, you don't really need to cook things, so you can just eat them out of the tin. That's quite a quick thing to do. And then if you are on a multi-day event, you could take instant porridge. If you soak it overnight, then it's ready for you to eat in the morning. Or if you're worried about emergencies, you could have a couple of dehydrated meals. If you're carrying a stove, you can always hydrate them. And then, well, you've probably noticed the theme from all these things that with lots of different textures are really important, just to keep things interesting. And perhaps things as close to fairly normal food as you can. So, for instance, if you're doing something like the transcontinental race, which might take you a couple of weeks, you've got to have a sort of a normal diet. I mean, once you get pretty tired, you're not getting any more tired, and you've got to live in some sort of sustainable way and avoid losing too much weight, because if you lose a lot of weight, then you won't be able to perform. So that's it. Tips from the stars. Well, the stars of bikepacking, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.